Jamie Tartt, do 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 do. Jamie Tartt, do 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 do. Jamie Tartt, do 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 do. Jamie Tartt.
Anyone? Hey everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video. So this one goes out to all of my Ted Lasso fans. Recently, Men's Health did a YouTube video all about Jamie Tartt's workout. And by Jamie Tartt, I obviously mean Phil Dunster. So today we're gonna go through the workout, and I actually completed his entire workout the other day. So along the way, I am going to give you my very honest thoughts. So let's dive on in.
Oh, hi Men's Health. I'm Phil Dunster, and today, y'all are gonna learn how to train like me. One of the things that I really wanted to do when approaching preparation for Ted Lasso was find a sort of exercise that I could enjoy that wasn't as tedious as just sort of picking heavy things up and putting them back down again. And one of the things I really wanted to get into was Olympic lifting, and that's how I met Nat. And she has found this really brilliant program, which is a great hybrid of hypertrophy work and also strength training. Footballers, they need to use a lot of explosive work. I fortunately don't have to have the stamina of a professional footballer when playing Jamie Tartt in Ted Lasso. And so I could just work a lot on the explosive stuff. But also it's really good for body conditioning as well, good for the shoulders, for the Hollywood muscles, I think.
And that's actually a really good point. So I think that, and you're gonna see in this program, there's a really nice balance of training just enough, like a footballer or a soccer player. Because soccer players obviously need a lot of endurance because they're basically just running the entire time. But they also need to have access to power or explosive strength. Another thing that Phil talked about was not just going and like picking up and putting down heavy things. The way that I kind of take that is like, we wanna work a little bit more functionally, right? Or if we think about a soccer player, they're going to use a lot of unilateral strength. They're going to use a lot of different angles and planes of motion. So you're going to see a lot of that represented in his workout. Happy Monday. That was a lot of elbow. All right, I just finished up with my first client of the day. We're gonna head to the gym and we are gonna try the Jamie Tartt workout. First glance, I'm actually really excited about it. It's a lot of stuff that I already do. I'm gonna have to modify some things, which I'll kind of talk about a little bit later. But the fit, Lululemon top, this is like the Align tank. Lululemon high neck energy bra. These are actually getting a little see-through because I've had them for such a long time. Free People Movement. These are like the Good Karma leggings. They have this cute little on the back. Adidas Ultra Boost, which I will be taking off to do all of my lifts. Let's go.
All right, so for today's workout, Phil's gonna start with his warm-up. So normally at the beginning of the session, we do some mobility and drills. And the whole idea of this is it's gonna prepare and prime his body for the lifts.
This is the worst part of the workout. The little tiny groin muscles working, but it's good for you, like your vegetables.
And obviously because he's doing very high velocity movements, we want to make sure that he's able to get into the right positions, he's warming up the right muscles, and it's basically just going to prepare him for that section.
That's my PT, and we started working together just over a year ago now. My focus was definitely on strength training, but also making sure that I was staying in the right sort of shape for Jamie Tartt in season 3 of Ted Lasso, never becoming too bulky in certain areas.
So we see in the warm-up a tri-set of 3 different exercises. We've got like a core stability movement with the Copenhagen plank. Those are really advanced. If you don't even have a side plank yet, I would start there. We've then got an arm bar roll. Again, pretty advanced. I've actually never done a rolling arm bar, so I'm intrigued to see how that goes. And then a little bit of power, some explosive single leg hops. Again, definitely more advanced. I would say with all of these things right off the bat, this is a challenging warm-up.
All right, it is beautiful out. There are lots of people. So this might be awkward. I'm gonna preface this with that the video angles aren't my best because it was packed. I guess it was lunchtime, it was noon. I usually go like before noon or after, and as I was leaving, it like cleared out. So bear with me there. Let's talk about the warm-up. Overall, really liked this warm-up. Definitely felt like, especially because the strength portion was free weights, and you definitely need a lot of stabilizers to work with dumbbells and kettlebells. I felt like it really prepped you for that. I do wish that there was a little bit more mobility work, especially because we were going into a snatch. Like we didn't have any overhead mobility. I would have really liked that. I would have loved a little bit of glute activation before going into the single leg box jumps. You can actually see that my knees were caving in a little bit because I really didn't have my glutes fired at all. I will say for the arm bar, I am not great at those. So doing like the arm armbar roll, I was just like, you know what, let's just stick to what I know. Armbar, do the internal, external rotation. So that was really great to prep my shoulders. But again, I just would have liked some overhead or like vertical mobility because that really only worked horizontal. And then only other thing to note was that this was a tri-set, but I performed every exercise by itself simply because of like space, equipment. It was just easier because it was so busy. Keep in mind that a professional like this in a personal training session in an empty gym, they kind of have free reign of everything.
Then the main block of his workout will be 2 7-minute EMOMs. So that's every minute on the minute, he's going to perform 2 snatches or power snatches.
It's easy when there's no weight on it.
So the whole idea of this is that he's going to start to train under fatigue and try to maintain or build the weight up as he goes along.
EMOMs are really good, I think, for body conditioning because you're effective. You just got to keep going, maintaining that form. It's a fairly medium weight, so long as it's about speed of movement, which may well decrease as we go on.
And then after that, he's got his 7-minute cleans. So with the cleans, again, we're looking to make sure that he's driving through the legs, turning under the bar and getting his elbows nice and high. Whew. A lot of the time when I started working with Phil, his mobility in his lats was a little bit limited. So making sure that he can get under the bar and get the elbows nice and high and keep the grip nice and relaxed is going to be one of the most important things. Making sure he's pushing under at the top and keeping his chest nice and upright.
As part of the progressive overload within each session, you're always looking to add on little by little. And it really is sometimes just like 0.5 either side. It's just about progressing little by little each time, really. What's my face looking like during that? There's no way to do it cool.
Then we go into 2 different EMOM circuits. So EMOM stands for every minute on the minute, and Phil is doing in his first EMOM circuit 2 power snatches every minute, and then in the second circuit 2 cleans every minute. Once you're done performing your reps, you get to use the rest of that minute as rest time. So this is a really great tactic for building power. As a reminder, power is about moving as much weight as quickly as possible. So it's not necessarily going to be the heaviest weight that you could lift. It's more about how quickly you can lift it. I do think it's interesting that they're adding weight, like progressing the weight as the reps go on. That's definitely very challenging considering that your power output is going to diminish as your reps increase. It's just another programming style. Another way that you could program this is to flip it so that as your sets continue, you're actually decreasing the weight so that you're not diminishing your power output. One isn't better than the other, they're just different.
Okay, jumping into the power EMOM. I will say, have never done a barbell snatch or barbell power clean in my life. So there was no way in hell I was trying that out in a packed gym for the first time. So instead, I just got to work with some kettlebells. I am doing a kettlebell certification right now. We haven't gotten to snatches and cleans yet, but it was just some good practice for me to like play with some weight, play with them from swings. I will say with all of these, like I taped my first set out of 7. So I feel like in terms of like demoing form, not my best in all of these. And the snatches, you can like see me hesitate at one point. But even in the video, there's a little pop-up that says like, you can do these with dumbbells if you're not comfortable using barbell.
And then after that, we've got some front squats and bench press. So again, the compound movements we throw in at the end towards kind of making sure that he's building the strength work.
I hate Bulgarian split squats, man. It's just really good to have these sort of humbling movements. Stops you from ego lifting too much. You know, on a day off from filming, you want to really feel like you've utilized that time to work out and stay fit. And let me tell you, when you get to the end of one of these sessions, then yeah, you're going to feel like you've really worked. So here, we're doing a chest-supported dumbbell row. Me resting my chest on the bench alleviates a lot of swinging. What I'm looking to do here is really engage the lats in by sort of rowing back to here rather than sort of coming up here and using the rear delts. Really focused a lot on the negative movement with Nat as well. Trying to make sure I'm not just coming back down, trying to really stabilize, which has varying degrees of success with me. We finished that tri-set. We've been working down from the bigger muscle groups with the Olympic lifting, working down to sort of slightly smaller while still doing hypertrophic work.
So you can actually see this was programmed as a circuit. You can tell that by the 3A, B, C, and D. So that means that Phil is gonna start with the Bulgarians and work his way through, and then probably rest and go back to the beginning. And I do like programming this way, especially if you don't want to waste a lot of time in the gym by resting. You can see that this was all working different muscle groups in a row. So we're working the lower body, then we're working the upper body pull muscles or the back, then we're working upper body push muscles or the chest and shoulders, triceps, and then we go into a lot of core and then some lat engagement with those ab rollouts. So this is a nice strategy if you don't have a lot of time to spare and you don't want to do each of these exercises by themselves, because you are going to have to take that rest time to recover.
Okay, so moving on to the strength, this was a tricep. I did perform the chest press and the split squat as a superset, and then we'll talk about the row in a second. I actually, in my own programming right now, do have chest pressing and Bulgarian split squats as a superset. The only thing that was a little less familiar to me was the incline, and it was definitely more challenging, so I had to lower the weight a bit. And even in this clip, like, the incline was a little low. I raised it up even higher on the second and third set. And then I did not get a clip of my Bulgarians. This is from another session, simply because, again, it was so hard to figure out how to film myself in the gym today. Overall, though, this rep range, these exercises, love putting them together. Now let's talk about the chest supported row, because I never do these right. And I think a lot of it has to do with the bench and my height, because I can never figure out how to not look like I'm humping the bench or that my face is not smushed in it. Case in point, watch the video. I know. I'm not doing it right. I did one set and then I was like, this is embarrassing. So I wiped off the thing and left. And then the fourth and final exercise, so I guess this wasn't a tricep, it was like a circuit. But the fourth exercise was an ab rollout. I include these in my programming sometimes. I typically prefer to do these with like a medium-sized stability ball. I actually just find that I get better lat connection. It's probably because it's less challenging and I'm less worried about like overextending from my low back. But yeah, definitely high rep, very challenging to work the front line of your core, your lats, your triceps. But overall, like, I love this programming and I think all of it is super justified, especially if you are performing as an athlete on television.
And now we're going to go down to some conditioning work on the sled. It mimics sprinting. It's a really low position, using a lot of power to try and get that sled going forwards, using momentum.
And then we end it with a sled push. I think sled pushes are great. I think a lot of people don't have access to them. I know in my gym I feel like there's a treadmill where it does feel like you're like doing a sled push, at least with the lower body. You could also walk on an incline on just a normal treadmill, a little 12-3-30 if you will. Or you could probably get a similar effect with a rowing machine if you are focused more on really the power output, driving through the heels, holding for a second at the back, rather than just like.
Okay, and to round it out for our finisher, we had some sled pushes. You can see in this clip, there is a sled in my gym. Once again, packed floor. Like, I could barely find a place to actually even get onto the floor. There was no way I was pushing a sled through everybody. Absolutely not. And you know what? I think that this is just a great lesson in like, how can we choose another exercise that kind of mimics the same thing, but you're still feeling comfortable, right? So right behind it was a rower. And I was like, you know what? The reason for the sled pushing is to get that lower body power. So I did 3 sets. Instead of 30 meters, I upped it to 100, simply because you move a lot faster on the rower. And then I called it a day.
All right, that was the whole workout. Let me know if you enjoy videos like this. I unfortunately can rarely monetize them because I'm using copyrighted material, but I feel like they're fun and I feel like they're a great way to show you the different ways that other people work out, and if you want to try it, how you can actually adapt it to your goals in your training program. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and I will see you all in the next one.